Hello everyone. So this is part 2 for this video series in order for you to understand the importance of trunking protocols and VLANs in your network. So the takeaways in part 1 is that we were able to configure the network. Even if you have only one physical network, you can divide the networks into two or more subnetworks by just using static IP address and making sure that it will never overlap from the other IP addresses. So no IP addresses should be the same on these computers, and there should be only one DHCP server in your network. So that's the main problem when it comes to networking or the things that you are going to consider. Right now, we will be solving this issue that we will be using two DHCP servers through the use of VLANs and a trunking protocol. So the trunking protocol that we will be using is common to all of the networking devices available commercially. Okay. So this is the basic trunking protocol. So the first thing that you are going to do is to create the VLANs in order for you to separate the the networks. So we have to understand that there are two networks on this physical setup, although we have only one network, but we are going to create two logical networks. So let's just assume we will be creating VLAN 1 and VLAN 2, although VLAN 1 will always be native, but we will just use VLAN 1 and VLAN 2. Okay? VLAN 1 will have the 192.168.1 dot whatever IP address under the class C. VLAN 2 will have the 192.168.2 dot whatever. So we are now going to configure the uh, the switches. Okay? So let's start with the configuration of each. Okay? So going inside with your switch, let's rename it first. So enable, configure terminal, and then host name. Host name is S1. Okay. So first, we are going to create the VLANs. We already have VLAN 1. In all of our switches, VLAN 1 is already present. Okay. So as you can see under the VLAN column, VLAN 1 is already there. And then including the Giga Ethernet lines are connected to VLAN 1. So there are several things that we need to configure in this setup. Okay. And all of our switches will have the same configuration. So we will be using fast Ethernet 1 up until 10 for VLAN 1, fast Ethernet 11 up until 20. We will be using, so sorry, let's use fast Ethernet 1 up until 9 for VLAN 1, fast Ethernet 10 up until 19 for VLAN 2. Okay. And let's just move fast Ethernet 20 to 24 to another VLAN. Let's just say VLAN 99. Okay. And the Giga Ethernet will be your trunking ports. So let's start with the configuration for S1. And let's do interface fast Ethernet 01 up until 9. Sorry, forgot to put in the range. Okay. And then let's do the configuration switch port, switch port mode access. Okay. So if you do the question mark here, it is only you're going to type in enter, and then switch port access. Then you do the question mark. There is a VLAN there. We did not create another VLAN except one that is already present. So we will put it in VLAN 1. Okay, there you go. VLAN 1 is already created, so it's automatic there. We don't really need to do that, but the process will be the same. Okay, so let's go to interface range, fast Ethernet 0, 10 to 19, and then let's do switch port, mode, access, enter, and then switch port, access, and then VLAN 2. Notice we did not create VLAN 2, but it will say access VLAN does not exist, creating VLAN 2. So it now creates VLAN 2. Next, we are now going to move all of the remaining ports, that is VLAN fast Ethernet 20 to 24, going through a VLAN 99. So same process, fast Ethernet 0, 20 to 24. Then let's just move that to switch port, mode, access, and then mode access, switch mode, access VLAN, VLAN 99. Again, we did not create VLAN 99, but it will create that once you run the command. So if you take a look, we now have 3 VLANs created, but there is only VLAN 1 that is in our network. So creating the VLAN, there are 2 ways now. So the VLAN as a port or the VLAN as a designation. So what I did is just create the VLAN and not create the interface VLAN. Okay. So those are the mode access that are created. We don't really need any other configuration just right now. Let's move to switch number 2, wherein let's just move it here so that we can display. Again, it's VLAN 1 all throughout. Okay. So let's configure it first and do the same process like the one we did in S1. So enable, configure terminal, and do the host name just to be sure. And then interface, range, fast. Let's skip VLAN 1 because it's there already. So let's do fast Ethernet 0, 10 going to 19. Then switch port, mode access, and sorry, wrong spelling. Then switch port, access, VLAN 2. Okay, so we did not create the VLAN 2. It creates that by itself. Range, fast Ethernet, 20 to 24. Switch port, mode, access, enter. And then switch port, access, VLAN 99. Okay, there you have it. So again, we created or we now have VLAN 1, VLAN 2, and 99. Okay. So again, we will have the same process in our main switch. Okay, enable, configure terminal, and then host name, main, interface, range, and then fast Ethernet 0, 10 going to 19. We are going to create VLAN 2 again. So switch port, mode, access, enter. Switch port, access, VLAN 2. And then interface range, fast Ethernet 0, 20 to 24. And then switch port again, mode access, and switch port access VLAN 99. Okay. So all of these switches are now were now configured the same way. We move all of the ports to the specific designation. 1 to 9 going to VLAN 1, 10 to 19 going to VLAN 2, and the rest are moved to VLAN 99. And then we are now going to create the trunk setup. So in your main, we need to have the trunk for the connection going through your switches. Okay. So interface, range, G0, 1, and 2. And then switch port mode. So if you are not well oriented with the switch port, you can always use question mark. So under switch port, what we want is the trunk. So we need to create the trunk. Okay. But the first thing that you're going to do is to create the mode first. Okay. So mode, question mark, and then that is trunk. We just use the trunk, not the dynamic, not the access. Okay. Right now, we are just using the default trunking solution. So switch port, mode, trunk, and then the next part is switch port, trunk, and then you do question mark. Okay. So we are using allowed, and then you do which VLAN are you going to allow. So we can use different VLANs there, or we can use native. Okay. So if you are going to take a look at the VLANs, so set allowed VLAN characteristic. Okay. And then set trunking native characteristics for those things. So if you do the trunking, we can use the trunk allowed or native. Right now, we are not going to use that. So for now, let's take a look at what happened if we just use the VLAN trunk. Okay, so let's go to switch number one. Switch number one is connected via Giga Ethernet 1. Okay, so let's go to interface G0 1, and then let's do switch port mode trunk. There. Not going to create any trunking setup first. And then here, let's do interface G. This is G02. Okay. Okay, that's connected to G02. So G02, then switch port mode trunk. There you go. So now we have two lines that are connected in, no, sorry. There are two networks, VLANs, that are connected in our system. And then DHCP2 is now connected under the VLAN 2. DHCP1 is connected under the VLAN 1. So let's try and just change the IP address or going into static and then go back to DHCP. Okay. As you can see, it's automatically given to the 204. Okay. So let's use PC3. Remember, this is 1.203. So click static to remove the configuration and go back to the HCP. It says 192.168.2.205. Okay. And then on the other side, we are using the HCP already, but we want to make sure that if we release this IP address and go back to DHCP, it should get the 192.168.1 network. Okay, there you have it. Still 1. Another part. This is again network or LAN 1. So close it. So remove the configuration and do DHCP again. And we will get 192.168.1 dot whatever. Okay. So right now, all of the connection will be connected. Okay. But these are two separate networks which are not connected to each of these network. We are logically separating these nodes or these computers even if it is connected in one big physical network. So even if your computers are connected in one physical line, does not mean that it should always connect. Okay? So changing the IP address will create a subnetwork within your physical network. So right now, we established the same process. One network, no computers will have the same IP address, and only one DHCP server on your network. But we are now using one physical network and created two subnetworks wherein we have different or two different IP range, two different DHCP servers in this setup. Okay? So this is how trunking solves the process. The VLAN and the trunking protocol solve the common issue when it comes to managing a network, especially if your network is growing or scaling up. Okay? So the next video will be the use of VLAN trunking protocol. Okay, so that's part 3. So right now, we just created the trunking protocol, configured each of our switches to use trunk and the VLAN to separate our networks. Okay, so that's it for now. See you on the next video.